Everybody stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What is your pleasure on the consent agenda?
Second it?
All in favor? The next upcoming select board meeting is Thursday, December 2nd at 5:30. Also here at the fire station. Is there any select board member comments?
We may want to consider changing the schedule for the next select board meeting. Suzanne will be out of town on December 2nd, and Priscilla has agreed on December 9th that her interest in changing the meeting date. Priscilla will be here, will be the territory manager, to just talk initially about, no, it's not Mr. Chapman, it's Chris McHale. And he will be here and start talking about the contract. And he also indicated he wants to resolve the noise complaints very soon. So I think
We can accommodate that.
we can talk more about that later.
I have no objection.
So the next meeting will be December 9th.
Here at Fire Hall?
Yep. Business. Item number 1 on the agenda is the Norwich Solar proposal to expand the urban development zone. And I think we should start out with I'm sorry,
Troy McBride.
Troy McBride, speak about it a little bit, and then we can open it up to all of your questions, comments. Does that sound okay with everybody? Welcome, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hi, I'm Troy McBride at Norwich Solar. We're a solar company in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. We have an office in Brunswick, and happens to be where my parents live in Thompson, and my sister lives in Brunswick. I think it was 2 years ago or so that the opportunity for solar in Maine expanded considerably, and so we opened our office in Brunswick and are working on a number of community solar projects in the Maine area, basically centered around Brunswick. This project we're proposing here is off Tonal Lane in West Bath. It's on about 60-acre parcel that is zoned partially urban development and partially rural residential. And so we were hoping to expand more of that parcel into urban development for the solar project. And so the solar project is approximately a 12-acre solar field. That's the equivalent of about 2 megawatts of Eurodad or 3,000 homes or something on that number, 2,000 We talked with the town and introducing the idea. We worked with the town, came back and said, well, give us a proposal for where you think you might propose putting the urban development zone, increasing the urban development zone. It's sort of, if you know where the transmission corridor is that goes through that property, on the east side is urban development, on the west side is rural residential. So the idea was to draw a somewhat, a box that included the solar array and potentially included some other properties. We only worked with Horizon Energy to come up with that particular design, and you'll are open to any other design. I believe there's 2 neighbors who I have not met. I've talked with Martha that are interested in working with us, and so one was interested in some of the property that is south of Tonal Lane that would be part of this property, and another was interested in potentially shifting the area, urban development zone, to include a southern property. And so that's so far what we've heard from, but I look forward to hearing from everybody and answering questions that anybody might have.
So I have a question before, I received an email, and I believe you guys received it as well. So the one issue, I think, of blanketing an urban development zone over the rural residential, there's another way, because once you do that, that actually opens the doors for Walmart or any big box store to go in there. There's another way to achieve what you're trying to do, and that would be to create an overlay zone, so that it's not opening the floodgate, but accommodating the solar array. So I think that's something that, before we got started, I want to make sure you guys understood there are other options that allows that to happen, but also allows you to keep more of your privacy.
I'm just curious, when you say you talked to the town, that would be a really hard thing to do. Who specifically did you talk with?
Well, it's when Martha
Chris.
approached the board about considering this, that's what we mean.
All right.
Town representative, sorry,
Yeah.
for speaking probably.
So how many solar panels, what's the configuration of this, and why do you need more land than what is currently owned by somebody who's interested in promoting this project?
And we all have this map, so maybe if you could show us where you're proposing to be looking, if you don't are familiar on what you've got, everyone has this map, correct?
No.
It's available right at the front.
I'd still like my question asked, why, how big is this thing, and why do we need to include land that's not already owned by people interested in the project?
So this is about 12 acres, and this is the land that would be that we have under our control and is interested in doing the solar project. Are you saying like the urban development portion of this property, or a different?
Why do
property?
you need rural residential change to urban development?
In this particular property?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to accommodate the solar project, and because
And how big is the solar project?
12 acres of solar.
You'll take, it's 12 acres of solar panels,
That's correct.
and who benefits from this?
So it's net metering community solar, so the credits from the solar project are the central main power customers. And so we provide the credits to central main power customers. And a couple of different ways that could work. The customers can purchase a portion of the array, or we can own the array ourselves and then sell the credits at a discount to the customers.
So ultimately, who benefits from this?
The customers, central main power customers that sign up for solar.
So it doesn't benefit anybody except the people who sign up for that particular solar farm?
Other than the benefits of bringing more locally generated power into Maine and to generating more renewable energy, there's not a direct benefit to other customers than the customers that sign up for the solar project.
Okay.
Do we, West Bath residents, benefit in any way? Or is this sort of sent back into the whole?
It's sent to the central main power grid. We typically prioritize customers that are closer to the array, so hope to find West Bath customers, but it doesn't have to be West Bath customer, it has to be central power's customer.
Does the town of West Bath benefit tax-wise from this versus what it is currently? Is there any benefit to the town, which would go back to us, the citizen, and if so, what is the projected benefit?
Yeah, that is still being sorted out, so it definitely pays this same property tax, and then there is different proposals for the property tax on solar in Maine, and so it's not completely settled what the benefit is. You get at least the same amount of taxes, and potentially more, but I do not know.
Is there a revenue also generated off the panels of the towns here? One is the leasing of the land, and is the panels also generate a revenue stream similar to what we have for the cars and whatnot that we create, and generate something for the town?
Other than if the town signed up for the solar credits and from any tax payments on land.
Well, we have a tax payment on the land, you'd be leasing the land, and we also get a revenue stream on the actual panels. Is there,
She's talking about the personal property tax.
Personal property tax, that's the one I was answering. I do not know the exact answer to that, whether, and that is still sort of a topic that's being discussed legislatively in order to how to set that.
gentleman right here?
You said that you have 60 acres that you can put the 12-acre array on,
Yes,
and that's in lot 13.
yes.
Now, why are we also trying to rezone lots 11 and 12?
Oh, so the only reason for that is the idea that you're not typically supposed to spot zone, as in change just one area. So that is a complete possibility and something we're going to be able to do, as well as probably sounds like a better solution would be the overlay zone zoning. But that this was just a sort of straw man proposal from our engineering firm saying, if you were to say you wanted to do more than just that parcel and avoid spot zoning, then you could go these parcels like these. And so, not wedded at all to this. This is just an example that we sent out for in conversation.
Wouldn't part of that thinking also be that if this project was successful, you could easily expand once you wrote the zoning in place?
You're limited by a 2 megawatt cap on per project, so you would not necessarily be able to increase the size of that parcel. If there was other landowners, you could go on another side. But there's not currently not an ability to go larger than the 12-acre size.
Not to say that it couldn't be in the future.
Yes. The other side of it is the capacity of the power lines. It built up at some point before you start doing that.
So to that.
We have a gentleman right here.
Oh,
I think you may have answered my question already, but I just want to clarify. I received your letter dated July 30th,
Yes.
because as the letter says, my property abuts one of these parcels. The map that you included shows proposed urban development zone expansion 77 acres, plus or minus.
Right.
I'm not, can you clarify, you're talking about 12 acres. Where the 12 acres are the structures themselves, but you're asking for 77 acres of UD, is that correct?
Yeah, and again, the only reason for that is the concept of spot zoning is, I think a much better solution would be to tightly define it and to actually define it as an overlay zone. This is again, just a straw man that we put out there that we asked our engineering firm, if you were to do more than just our area, what might make sense? And that's what they drew, but it's really to start the conversation. And,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Darlene.
So I had a couple of things. Darlene Estabrook, I'm on the planning board here in town. Someone had asked about tax revenue. Since you're putting a commercial establishment in a commercial spot, the land would be valued and taxed higher, which would be an additional benefit to the town as far as revenue stream goes. And then they would do the personal tax on each of the different solar panels. So that is a little bit different. As far as zoning goes, I think smaller zones like this, like the spot zoning that you're talking about, are really kind of tricky, and historically the town has not done that and tries not to do that, because you do that, you go around someone's property, and then all of a sudden they want that one to be zoned differently too. What we've tried to do historically is kind of do larger areas or cut it off. In this instance, I think I would propose to zone even the land between the highway and the urban development that's existing, that corner in there.
southern part.
Yeah.
And that,
And the thing is, I don't know if people understand this, but even if you're in a commercial zone and you have a home, you're not charged a higher rate for the commercial because you're in the commercial zone. You have a residential use, you have a home, so you're being charged taxes based on a residential value, not a commercial value. A lot of our houses in town are in commercial zones because of the way our zoning is. Everything off of State Road here, it goes back 250 and some places 350 feet. I mean, this house is right behind here. Those are in a commercial area, but they're not charged a commercial rate because they're homes.
So Darlene.
So I don't know if zoning bigger to just have a better square or triangle or whatever it is,
But by
Isn't a bad
doing
idea.
overlay, which is not a traditional path for West Bath,
right?
nor we haven't had a solar farm yet, I think protects the residents to a specific use for solar.
Sure.
Then allowing, down the road, let's say this doesn't work,
Sure.
they take it down and then we put a Walmart there or a
But
Sam's Club. So I think it's trying to protect the environment
Mhm.
in a non-traditional current use. We should consider that also.
And I think too that this shape is really weird. Sorry,
You're next, and then you.
Your shape is odd.
Me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, my name is Zach Vanderwerf. I live up on Vanderwerf Drive. So you would have to use Sandy Brook Road to gain access to Tonal Lane. That is actually a road association that we're a part of.
okay, yeah.
There's actually two covenants that prevent any, access to businesses. Like you can't have businesses run out of any lots that are off of that access road or on that access road. The covenant number 2, no businesses, which would increase normal residential flow traffic, which obviously you have to make that a public road, right, if you're going to be accessing.
Yeah, the access is typically concentrated during the construction, and after that, it's almost never visited. But there is an initial period when constructing the solar array,
Right.
you would access it.
And then, so if you were to make that a public road, which you can't technically, you would have to take care of the road and all that stuff, which the association actually has the exclusive right to make decisions concerning the maintenance and improvement. So really, you'd have to go through the association to even use our road.
Yeah.
What about Tonal Lane and Sanford Crossing Road? Sanford Crossing Road is not really a major road. But Tonal Lane, I share with Jamie Olmo, and we got that paperwork here, legal documents say we share like 50/50. And it says residential use only.
It's a residential
Where
area.
you gonna? Yeah, I don't know if anybody's been there, but it's, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I've definitely been there. We've gotten a fair number of things from it. It's Mr. Olmo's property, so.
Oh, we share the road, we share that 50/50.
I mean, the project would be on his
Yeah, I'm missing other project to be.
Right,
I
but
like
you-
it, yeah, right in the middle of it.
You have to use our road so you can get up there, which
Agreed, yeah. And so
you can't, according to these covenants, which are in writing, you know, with our lawyer, it can't.
This is residential use only.
So this gentleman, next.
Hi, my name is John, and this is my wife Mary. We own the 8 acres total, which is 3 lots that are beside the whole entire length of this project. I would like mine if, like, person had mentioned that if you're gonna block, do this, I would like my name put in that block. Because I feel having up on that land, there's so much traffic noise and stuff from Route 1 on my particular property, which is behind the rest area. It's never gonna be, I don't feel, conducive to residential construction. You can't hear something. It is so loud, it's mind-boggling. One of the other things that I would have spoken with him, but I spoke with another woman.
Martha, yeah.
I had, prior to this, been in negotiation with another solar company that wanted to use my land a couple of years ago to build a solar field. They felt it was very conducive to that. But at the time, so large solar fields were not allowed by the town, and they didn't want to pursue it. So I guess, in a nutshell, what I'm saying is, I would be interested in doing a second, like you said, you're going to build one on that lot. If you want to lease a section off mine, I would be very happy to negotiate that. The other thing that I feel, they could come right up through my land, which goes right out to the back industrial park. There's 3-phase power, brand new 3-phase power at the end of the park. And the people that I had talked to before had contacted CMP, and they were able to get a verbal okay to tack on that line. That would alleviate, if you want to cut through my land, you could totally alleviate these people's legitimate concerns about the property being the impact on the road, and the other impact is you're going to have to put a mile of 3-phase out from Tonal Road all the way down to Meadows Road, which is going to be a huge impact on that road. So, I obviously, you know, you have not heard this, or we haven't discussed this, so I'm not trying to sandbag you, the town, or other people. I'm just saying that, yes, I agree with her. I feel like if you're gonna blanket do this, and on your map, you've got part of my land on it already without ever having talked to it. On this map right here.
So which parcel is yours?
I have parcel 5, parcel 6,
Can you
and
point?
parcel 15.
I'm actually trying to get a magnifying glass, so I can't read this.
Okay. I have this parcel right here, which
So right underneath the red.
directly underneath right here.
Underneath the back water district.
Right underneath the water district. And I apologize, I said you were already on parcel in line, I was looking across and didn't realize that this was the water district, so you.
So you're right beneath
None of
that.
this is on me, yeah. So I've got a 50-acre parcel here, this was the London parcel, it was 11 acres, and last week I bought 18 acres from the farm associate. So I have 80 acres right there. Now, if you look at the whole Kings Highway comes out, and it drops right out onto Lincoln Parkway, Kings Highway. And it's the new, I mean, literally right at the corner of this rock lot is where the end of the industrial park is. And the lower sections of mine are already in there. So if they want to do something to me, they could come up Kings Highway and go right into the property without ever going through or the end of the town road or St. Brook Road. It's obviously concerned.
Daniel,
Hi, nice to meet you.
this is you?
Yeah. this one, got this one, and this one. I don't know if it's congratulations. But anyway, so to say that I'm not against what they're proposing, I'm not against what they're proposing. One of the big roadblocks, obviously, that I felt the minute I heard what they were trying to do was, I told my wife, I said, they got issues coming out of that road. It's a Wilson Road, and it's about its dirt. You've got to build a mile and a half of three-phase, a mile of three-phase to get out to New Meadows Road, which is gonna be horribly expensive.
I'm sorry.
What was your name again?
John, Engelbach, E-N-G-L-E-H-A-I-B-T.
Thank you.
When you're ready, ready? Okay. Apologize for not introducing myself earlier. I'm Rob Morris. I live at 86 Sanford Crossing Road. I want to ask a question, really to clarify something that I think I just heard. One of my concerns about changing that size property, 77 plus acres, or I should say plus or minus, to UD, is that if I'm reading this correctly, the land use ordinance, Darlene, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that opens up that land to not just the building of a large solar energy farm, but 31 other possibilities of businesses. And some of those possibilities concern me more than the solar farm. And did I, just to clarify, did I hear you say, Suzanne, that with the what did you call it?
An overlay zone?
The overlay would protect that to just the solar farm? Did I hear you say that?
I'll let Darlene answer, I believe that is accurate, I don't know, I'm not the planning board expert.
You would, yes, you would have to, what Suzanne's talking about with an overlay is you can do a specific overlay so that just solar, commercial solar farms would be allowed in a certain area.
And that's it.
You could do that. We have two different, so the urban development part is a different zone from our business and commercial. So the UDP is only over there. Business and commercial is all through town. So based on what it is, I don't know if the number is 31 or not. But you counted them, so probably it's 31. I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
One more of the solar farm, so 32.
Right. So I mean, yes, so a bunch of different uses could go up there.
Could go there.
I have concerns too with running everything up that Sanford's Crossing and up through Tonal and all that. It's steep, it's narrow, it's nasty.
It's private.
And these guys, so Sanford's Crossing is a town road to the tracks, I believe it stops there. I grew up there. And so from the tracks over, it's all private. So yeah, you guys have your rights to things. There are requirements for commercial developments to upgrade the roads to certain standards, which I'm not even certain at this point we could do up there because of the steepness of that road.
Right.
So it would be something that would have to be really looked at.
The whole association's against it too, so I mean, can't happen.
But I think that this is a good opportunity for everyone to figure out what they're proposing so they can adjust and decide what they want to do. There are a lot of things that have to happen before a business can go in somewhere. And the solar farms, we have that in the ordinance. It's a new thing. We haven't cited one yet, but there are requirements in there for it, for commercial. So we would definitely look at all of those things, if they did come before us for that. But yeah, I know that road, it's treacherous.
Is there anyone, are you gonna?
Well, I guess my comment was that any future use would be subject to codes of the town. It's not like if you put these into this zone, it's magically, walnuts on a drop off space and use it.
Well, we can't contest it if it's classified as urban development. If they meet the requirements of the zoning, you have to move forward. But if you do an overlay, it limits the functionality specific to the overlay.
Right. No, I understand that, but I was just trying to say that any future use is gonna be subject to permitting and stuff. Even if it's a permitted use, if it's a big enough project, obviously it's gonna be subject to public input. Any big project, I mean, like, for instance, they just built the high school down there, all these other changes. I mean, there's, you know, that whole area is going through changes inevitable. But, you know, putting something in a particular zone doesn't necessarily allow any use whatsoever. I mean, the nuclear site won't be built, obviously, you have that here, and somebody can get a chance to, just like these people, I'm not trying to speak against any of these people as far as the access and stuff. I think that they're completely 100% legitimate in what they're saying. You know, I just don't know if changing it is, you know, gonna magically gonna change the whole thing to where any use whatsoever can be had. I mean, if you look at the zone itself, take out the book and look at what's allowed in the zone, there's a lot of things that are not allowed in this zone. I mean, it's really hit or miss what is and what isn't. You know, it's not like a blanket business zone or pretty much any business. Like, you know, you can have a pot, but they gotta be limited to so much. You can have a whole construction place, but it's gotta be undercover. I mean, if you look at the ordinance as it's written right now, there's 1,000 restrictions on anything you can have.
But if you're trying to just pursue a particular, I mean, because without an overlay zone, if they meet the requirements, something can move forward. So you want to make sure that you're going for exactly what you're trying to achieve for that zone.
So I'm kind of on what you said, is that I think we have to be very careful what we open our doors to, because let's say if we talk worst case scenario, so you guys want 12 acres, right? But you're turning 77, potentially plus acres, so it's plus or minus, so let's say worst case scenario, let's say 80 or 100. You could, in worst case scenario is you have 12 acres of a solar farm, and then you have Walmarts or whatever, like that. I understand the gentleman's point too, it's not like it's just gonna happen overnight, or it may never happen, but you have to make sure, once this goes through, we need to make sure we understand what the worst case scenario is for these beautiful woods that we all live near. Do we understand what we're doing?
Can I just have you identify yourself?
I'm James Becker, I live on the old Brunswick Road, Mill Creek. These woods are right in my backyard, I did not get the letter personally. I met somebody who informed me of this, and this impacts my family. We live in here, so I find it like, I'm worried that this 12 acres is just the start of the slippery slope of something much bigger that you can't stop. You know, we agreed, we didn't quite know what we were doing, and now we have changed a huge piece of West Bath.
I agree. We're lucky to have as much woods as we do, you know, as much privacy as we do. That's in our backyard, John's backyard, you know. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something. There is no access from the highway, ever. It's closed off, so you can't get to like the top of the hill and add an exit for a Walmart or anything like that. The way that it's unfortunate, but all the way through West Bath, you cannot get off of the highway and go to a business. You have to get off on the exit. So there would never be a possibility at the top of the hill of having access off of the road. You'd have to petition the DOT and all kinds of stuff like that. It's just not done from Bath all the way to downtown Brunswick. All you have to do is go on the exits. So you're really limited to access to that area up there through Sanford's Crossing and Tonal and all of those, or from the other side through Wing Farm, if you're ever gonna get in there. Because, you know, those of you that live up there know it's a pretty deep wooded corridor all the way to Bath, going straight away from the highway. So that would be the only two accesses that it would have. So I don't see something big going in there. I could be wrong, but it is limited access. You can't get off the highway on.
I had a question about the solar farm itself.
Can you state your name also, please?
John Jones, I live on Tonal Lane. On a solar farm, I've looked around at different ones and stuff, you guys fence it in. What do you guys use for pesticides, herbicides? You can't mow it, because if you clean up a rock or a weed whacker or whatever, you can't mow it whatsoever. So most of them all use some kind of herbicides, chemically treat the ground. What's that gonna affect the water? Because obviously, Bath Water District water tower used to get there, you know, kind of.
Yeah, so we never keep ground brush hog once a year.
It's what?
Brush hog.
Brush hog?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that brush hog still throw rocks and dirt and debris up everywhere?
It certainly can mow a lot of stuff, but you know, we prepare the site so that we brush hog. So we have a number of such sites. We never use pesticides on the sites. It's solar's a very quiet neighbor. Once it's installed, just sits there and generates electricity. And then once a year, we come brush hog, sometimes twice a year, depending on the site. And
I mow my lawn more than twice a year.
yeah, I mean the reason it's only once or twice a year is it's really just that like we would treat a field. You don't want the tree growing back up, so you just want to cut it down before it starts shading the panels.
Yeah, they cut the trees down, weed grows over down.
Yes, you just said you prepare the ground, what does that involve?
Preparing, well, so it's, it would be large equipment to remove rocks and other large obstacles, and so you don't need to be very smooth, but it has to be a little bit more smooth, and so you go through and have a civil engineering or excavation company, a civil company that would come and make the site into a rolling field that you could then brush off.
Marilee, and then you.
Marilee Wilson, I'm a resident of West Bath. I didn't get the letter because I'm not in the affected area, but you know, we all know what eyesores are. And so is there a buffer, a vegetative buffer, or how will that be maintained? Because I hear concerns from some close neighbors. What is the plan?
There's a little amount here that is not included. So that, one thing that is potentially attractive of this site is that it is not going to be seen from anywhere but Tonal Lane. So it's 12 acres out of a 60-acre parcel. So that it's a very quiet neighbor. It leaves the rest of the property untouched and open to the public. And so that that's and then it's very very little traffic after the first initial construction. So it's once or twice a year. It's
So
a
I
quiet
understand
neighborhood
that.
and in this case is where only someone living on Tonal Lane would see it. And see it while driving
On the
to.
map, I'd see it three sides of my property, so I'd be looking at a fence and solar panels all the way around.
So is there no buffer proposed for the areas that can be seen for the homeowners that are immediately near here, or can that be resolved?
Yeah, there's like around 300 feet around residents, at least of buffer. The only area that there's not at least 100 feet of buffer is right where we would turn off Tonal Lane to access it. So it'd almost be entirely buffered from your view.
So I can, during the winter, I can look out and I can see the power lines. I don't know if that's 300 feet.
Yeah.
It's quite a ways, but you can see through the woods, you know.
That's right. So you would be.
I bought that house in the woods. I don't
bought a house here too, because I was in the woods, and then the guy behind me clear cut everything,
I don't know
so.
what's the health effects
change
in the long
happens.
term, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just glass steel, so
It does give off radiation reflected.
I take
Interesting.
TJ, you're next.
Timothy, Vicky, I live on 92 Sanford. You say you need 12 acres, and I'm kind of curious, along the same question, is that 12 acres of just panels, and then how much trees around that 12 acres would you need to take?
Yeah, so the footprint of the solar array is 10.1 acres. The total area of disturbance is 19 acres.
And that's clear cut?
That is, yeah, that is.
Can we pass that around, does it show?
It's just two boxes here, so you can, in yellow is the solar panel area, green is the proposed clear.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you. Have you had a chance to see that? We'll send it down that way.
Okay, Ernie Haskell from Sanford Cross Road.
Have you had a chance to see that?
On a project like this, when construction started, what's the duration? How long does it last?
It's between 3 and 8 months. It just depends. I would guess 5 months. So if you started in, say, May, you would be done by October. The actual intensive part of it is about a month to 2 months, and after that, it's a lot of hand labor.
So you're still talking to traffic going up and down?
You would still have the people coming in every day, in pickup trucks. Like there would be, 4 to 5 pickup trucks coming in every day. To bring workers in, yeah.
Plus the workers bringing in, or the trucks bringing in the equipment?
Yeah, that would happen that's sort of maybe, a couple intensive days to bring all the equipment in. So, steel, panels, and inverters. So that would be, a couple days where you bring equipment in.
Darlene?
I've heard people kind of ask it a few times now, and I'm not sure I heard the answer. So you want to rezone 77 plus or minus acres. The panels take up 12, and you're going to clear cut 19. So why 77 if you're clear cutting 19 to fit the panels?
Yeah, so that was just a straw man number, and that was really just to say, here's an example of what you could rezone. It's really just to start the conversation. We would love to do, an overlay or something to that.
I'm just kind of curious, since we know the access through this is from private roads that will not give you access, why are we talking about this?
Exactly. This gentleman offered a solution to provide a different
Is
access.
that on the agenda, or is that allowed to be discussed?
Yeah,
Is
that's
that on
not
the
the same,
agenda?
that's not the same proposal.
So what I'm hearing is either he needs to come back and develop another proposal or pursue this proposal. It doesn't sound like you can pursue this proposal.
No.
I'm just saying, it sounds like it may be a different proposal.
Well, tonight's meeting is really about gathering feedback before we have an actual application. So I think you're right, Kathy. I think that he can harness all of the information that he got from the people who attended the meeting. And if Norwich wants to return with another proposal, I think that would be fine.
This gentleman in the back, and if you can state your name.
James Omo, I own lot 13. I bought 60 acres. I sold John a little less than 4 acres. When I purchased it from the bank in foreclosure, it was 1 meeting away from the West Bath Planning Board, I believe, for approval for a 9-unit subdivision up there. That's what I purchased, and I was told I could easily get it through the planning board, we'll just go another step. So just to paint a full picture of what's going on up there, what could go on up there. Right now on Sandy Brook, which is the private subdivision, I believe Mr. Vanderwerf's father or uncle ran a heating business out of there. There's also a construction business at the top of the hill from, I believe, your brother's old house. Bobby Bear, there's another person running a concrete company at the bottom of my property, and across the road from there is a seafood business. So there's 4 businesses on that road, and there's only 8 houses right now.
They don't operate out of there, they just live there. And it doesn't increase the flow of traffic.
That's not true, but
It
that's
is
your
true.
opinion.
Is it commercially
Because
zoned? Excuse me, are you
No.
saying that it's not?
No, it's rural residential.
But they're running business?
Correct. Correct. Currently, equipment, crews come in and out,
Doesn't increase
trucks.
the flow of traffic, they live there. My father had an HVAC company, his
Anyways.
van,
Okay, so
which is his personal
if you
vehicle.
lied, because I
He
know where
lives
your
at the
house
house.
is being built right now.
Let him finish.
He just cut me off.
Yeah.
You-
Okay, please, both
Uh,
of you just let each other finish.
So we have Bobby Berry's workers, we have the person with the concrete company's workers in and out there.
Yeah.
You have the construction business at the top of the hill with their workers in and out of there. So that doesn't increase traffic, the workers coming and going?
No, because there's not customers coming up there. It's not a public road, doesn't increase traffic, they live there, it's their vehicle.
Okay, anyways, so, the other point being, the person who owned it, who did the subdivision, that I bought from, before he lost it, he clear cut that whole area.
Who was that? That was
Chuck Hagan.
Yeah.
So it's been clear cut about 8 years ago. And now when I say clear cut, folks, I don't know if people have been up there, but maybe you should take a drive up there before you shut this man down. Because there's not many trees left. When you say clear cut, you could clear cut it with a bush hog today. There really is not many big trees left. Point 2. So, if this doesn't become a solar farm or something, I'll just continue on with the plan, and you will have 8 more neighbors up there, which is gonna be a lot more traffic than a solar farm.
But it doesn't allow for this potential influx of big.
Correct.
If I believe he has some kind of a deal going on. He's getting a lot of money out of this, while we're not getting any.
Whoa.
That's
Pretty
not
sure
part
that's
of
what the
tonight.
rumor is
Okay.
going
No,
on.
we need to
I'm
discuss
selling
that.
it for fair market value.
I don't think the
That's the
land's on
term.
sale.
Fair-
We can shut this
It
down,
is
or
for
we
sale.
can have a discussion on
My
what we're
property.
here to talk about.
I haven't seen it for sale.
What's on the agenda though is not finding a different route in, right? That's what
Currently,
we said.
that's not on the
We're
agenda.
just here to discuss, and this gentleman needs to decide what he's gonna bring back to the town for a proposal. So we're just here to have a conversation where we're all pleasant to one another, this doesn't get out of control, and then he can determine how he wants to come back to the town.
It's just hearing the feedback from the community, gather information, and see if there is another next step.
Hi, I'm Deborah Henderson. I live in West Bath. I don't live in this neighborhood, but I feel for the residents. Thank you. And my 2 concerns are that he should have to find an alternate access route and not disrupt the rural residential area, even if it's already growing. And my other concern is that we've just started the comprehensive plan process again, and it's been too long delayed, so we really have very little idea of where we're at in terms of development. And I don't think any land should be rezoned until we know better what our comprehensive plan direction is going to be. I just don't think it's called for to rezone while we are moving establishing a concrete direction to move in.
Derek had a
Yeah,
question.
my name is Bill Lehman. We own lot 12 on your map, R01. It's kind of, I believe that's the north end of this proposed UD rezone. Should I comment on that now, or do you want to wait? Okay, we have, our idea is we would like to keep that zoned residential, rural residential as it is. I walked the land a few years ago with her dad was alive, and a couple times since. Some beautiful house lots there. We're not interested in the proposal. The land's not for sale. We're not interested in leasing it. Like I said, we're kind of on the northern end of it. So our goal is to keep it rural residential for those reasons. We all have children that want to be, the four owners, Carolyn wants to buy these, and it may go to them someday. We look around, we see all the development going on. We've got Wing Farm down here at the high school, Crooked coming in from the other end. We've had people approach us and say, well, we've got this lot in the middle of nowhere, no access. But the funny thing is, we keep getting offers for it. It's gone from 9,000 to 27,000 in just a couple of years. But we're not interested in the money. We just want to keep the lot rural residential, maybe for our children. And we don't. We should go away and stick on it.
Eric, you had a question?
Just a couple things. Derek does it, we were on Central Crossing Road, or off Central Crossing Road. So how does it change, what's the infrastructure look like on that road? What's going to change? Do you have to upgrade that to Bay Street? Is that what's going to happen?
That's right, yeah. So
Going through 3 taller poles, crossbars, that type of thing?
yeah,
Just trying to get a sense what it's going to look like.
either crossbars or
Clear
handles.
the trees back a little bit on the other side of the road and stuff. And it's Bay Street, it's big power. And that will go from the solar arrangement through, from what I understand, some private drive, private road, and then somehow you work that out. I don't know how that works. It goes down into Meadows Road at that point, in connection to
That's great.
the power grid there. Okay, and then I guess, if I had a thought or a word about it, it is hard to hear you want, 20 acres is one thing. To sit and ask for 77 and just open the doors wide open to commercial, industrial, in everyone's backyard, because if it's in the book and you go through the permitting process, the planning board process and all of that, you can build whatever you want to build over there, not within the guidelines of the town that usually ordinance. So it does feel a little bit like you're kind of trying to open the door, in a big way. So it's just hard to have, it's hard to sit here with a straight face and say, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, let's do the 77 acres. And you're using 20, meanwhile, we've got another 60 sitting there. It's just, if you're trying to sell it, it's hard for me to buy it. I think your intention is pure, I just don't know what's going to happen after the fact. And after the fact, you guys are gone, and the quiet neighbor is now, at risk because you've got all that other land.
Yeah, that certainly has been echoed by a lot of people, and I totally agree with your point of view, and their we wouldn't, and that's frankly why we sent the letter back in June.
Sure.
And we appreciate you.
This gentleman here?
Ernie Haskell again, from Office of Crossing Road. My wife and her sister own lot 11. We also would prefer that not be rezoned. We want to keep that as rural residential. That shouldn't be included in any future proposals.
Darlene?
Is there any way you can tie into that CMP line that runs right up through it?
The transmission line?
Yeah.
It's not typically.
Aren't you tying into the transmission line on New Meadows?
It's distribution, so it's just a lot lower voltage. So you just, it's not, you typically cannot tie into transmission lines. You tie in distribution.
Bill Lehman again. If you had this project installed, who actually owns it?
Yeah, so, as I was just mentioning before, there's a couple different options. So we do community solar where people who get the power buy the panels. Then there's projects where it's investor owned. And so the investor is sometimes us and sometimes it's another solar investor.
What's the average life of a solar panel?
And so it's warranty 25 years, so it's definitely 25 years, and the projects are typically on the order of 30 to 35 years, and they...
When 25 years was up, who would be responsible for replacing the panels?
Yeah,
Would
so
that be the town, would that be you?
it's definitely us, so and it's in legislation, and that it's, that you have to put forth actually, you have to put forth a decommissioning bond, and you have to guarantee that you.
So if it fails in 10 years, they decommission it and it's gone, or when it's over and done with, they decommission it and it's
Okay, just one more question. How do you dispose of the panels when the life is expired?
Yeah, so all the components are very recyclable and actually less energy to turn them into new product than taking virgin material. And so it's really steel for the posts, it's an aluminum frame, it's glass, and then it's silicon for the photo active material. All of those are fully recyclable and actually have value as recyclables. It's cheaper by recycled steel, to recycle steel, which makes it
It's 100% recyclable.
Yeah.
You said the life is about 25 years, and then it's scrap, basically?
It's between 25 and 40 years, but at the end you would recycle. Yeah.
It almost doesn't even sound worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely look at the life cycle, life cycle analysis of solar projects, and they are extremely good. Within a year
But
they
then,
have an environmental payback.
what happens to all the customers after you guys are gone?
The customers that were buying the solar, yeah, so it's a long time from now, but
That's
you can
inevitable, right?
Yeah, you can buy power from whatever the next generation is, or from the utility. So,
This gentleman here?
Thank you. Rob Lawrence again from Sanford's Crossing. I have a question for you, sir, and then maybe followed by a comment, depending on your answer. Based on the footprint that you want for this, that you need for this, that you're looking for, have you looked anywhere else in West Bath? And if you had, was there anything, other possible locations for this?
We've looked, again, we're centered around Brunswick, and so we have projects in a number of other towns. In West Bath, we looked at some other parcels. We actually looked at some parcels not too far from there, but none of them were appropriate. There's a number of reasons why we would decide against a specific site. It could be the power's not good. It could be that there's environmental concerns like wetlands or other habitat concerns, and then there's neighbor concerns. There's as a number of people mentioned, I think they're representations of environmental progressive, and that they look reasonable, but a lot of people don't want to see them, so we often try and find a place where we can tuck them away and have a positive,
Okay. Can I follow
positive
up?
experience with the town.
Can I follow up with a comment then?
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that was going to be your answer. Just to throw an idea out there, and Darlene might throw something at me, or somebody else, but being that this looks like it might be, it's one and done possibly for you, that's the ideal location. Isn't it possible for the town to entertain an amendment to the rural residential zoning to allow large solar farm? Right now it allows small ones, which are for in-house use. Isn't that another avenue that could be taken? So then we don't have to worry about changing the zoning to urban development. You could simply add the farm to rural residential. Is that even a feasible suggestion?
Well, I guess I won't answer whether it was a feasible suggestion, but what happened was we had a townsperson come to the planning board wanting to do a solar farm. And so we went to the selectmen at the time and we said, hey, what do you think? And they're like, yeah, it's a new thing, let's put something together. So that's when we developed the land use for the solar farm. And it was decided by the selectmen at that time that a commercial solar farm should not be allowed in a residential area, only the business and commercial and the urban development zone, because of the fact that there would be residents, and it seemed like a business commercial, the urban development would be a better, more appropriate place to have such a thing because they could be so large. So that's why in the residential area, you can have one on your home, which is for you, but to have a farm, a solar farm out there, say you get 30 solar panels, and Rob, you buy 2 of them, so you've got your credits from 2, and someone else buys 2 of them, all kind of stuff. And that's a commercial endeavor, and that has to be done in the business and commercial or the urban development. So that's the background. It was decided back then that it should be separated that way. Obviously, if everyone in town disagrees, you can take it to the selectmen and they can change their minds. But that's how it was developed in the very beginning.
All right, thank you.
It's helpful.
So I'm confused and just wondering, this is not the first solar project that would have come before us. The last one decided not to pursue it due to some increased regulations and state cost, and I'm just wondering, that doesn't affect your proposal coming forward?
There have been some changes. One change was the maximum size allowed was, used to be 2.5 times bigger, and they reduced it, and so that could be a reason why they changed their mind. And then it could just be other things that they found while looking at the property, the costs, or other items, but
What was
there
the
has
size
been
of
some
the-
adjustments, but
Thought it had something to do with net billing or something like that.
And
I'm
do you remember the
not
size
sure.
of that parcel?
The size of the parcel, I don't remember. I don't recall.
Okay, you're next.
Thanks, Deborah Henderson again. You said that 25, 30, 40 years is a long time. I disagree. And I can't imagine why you're proposing a commercial endeavor that you're going to decommission in 40 years. Wouldn't you build a new solar farm on the same site?
it's very, very possible. It's hard to predict, like, what happens with energy in 40 years. Like, do we?
Are you planning to go out of business in 40 years?
You won't.
But if you think about even like a nuclear power plant, they have like a 40-year lifetime, for example, and at the end of that period, you decide whether decommission or bridges have a lifespan of.
Oh, don't talk about bridges.
Involving technology evolves, and maybe look at something totally different in 25 years.
Sure, but wouldn't we like to, as a town, say that solar farm, yes, nothing else?
But so yeah, that would be the purpose of the overlay zone.
Okay.
Said would be just for specific use. And you know, no one knows where that's going in 40 years. But you know, worst case scenario, it goes back to what it was. It has to be fully decommissioned. Should they choose not to pursue a renewal, it goes back to, all the equipment's gone, it's back to just the land.
What about pesticides and whatever they use on the land itself?
He said he didn't,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Is that
it's just not any other reason to.
She's next, then you do, go ahead.
I'm Mary Hart, and I own the property beside what your proposal is. I guess the biggest question that maybe we'd all like to know, would the solar farm help us combat the huge CMP increase we're all getting?
Yeah, so if you signed up for the solar project, you would get a discount that would offset some of that. The increase that CMP has right now is related to the natural gas shortage, the supply chain, and it's hopefully temporary. But we do offer solar savings. So it's different things, but.
So you could sign up and it will help.
Yes, correct.
David?
David Hennessy, resident of West Bath. I'm curious, I've heard points of view both sides, but I'm not sure why you're here. Besides to get an overall view of the town, what the thoughts of the neighborhood. And I would hope if we come back to the town and discuss it again, you have it right away to the property, confirmed right away, or somehow to get to the property without going through this again, if you have no way to get to the property. So what are we doing?
Yeah, so really wanted to have an early discussion here.
Okay,
Really
and I agree with that
and
right now, but I'm saying, before you come to the town next time for a meeting like this, I would help you have more concrete plans and a definite access to the property, so that's not a problem, and just more concrete plans.
Okay, next.
I would really like to give the town the right to mandate that they come through the Bath Industrial Park and not give them access from the Sanford Crossing Road, although there is the problem of getting the electricity out to the New Meadows Road. Which is kind of nasty, because that's going to impact.
Well, the industrial park is private property too, so that arrangement would have to be made through the owner of that property.
Okay, and is there no way to go out to the Old Brunswick Road? Well, I know somebody here said they live there. But, I mean, are there any other options than coming up the Sanford Crossing Road and getting permission from these private road owners?
Again, I don't think it's any of our responsibility here to come up with a plan or develop.
No, but no, I'm
What's
saying,
gonna happen.
can we say we're going to limit their access?
I think he needs to bring a proposal.
He's gotta, yeah, he's
Gotta
gonna have
go
to come back and.
But if he
Back to the
thinks
drawing
he can
board.
come from any direction, then he's only gonna give his optimal plan. He's not gonna make 5 plans of how to get to the property.
He may need to.
Okay,
If he doesn't follow the, what's available, I mean, if he comes back and says he's using this road and there's no way he can use this road, then it's not a viable plan.
Right, okay, thank you.
And so if and when you do come back, if you could just also label all the lots on here, because you'll say on lot 11, I'm trying to,
I'm trying to see, I think you may be able to see it. I could not read that on that side.
just to be a little better. So I'm going to move that we've had a discussion. I think we've all stated our thoughts. I'm going to move that we table discussion and move forward with the next agenda item.
I'll give you a second on that one.
And while we're taking a second, if I could have anyone that came in late, if anyone that came late could just sign in the sign-in sheet, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All in favor?
Don't step.
Oh, mine's 24. It was nice to be up there. Oh, yeah. Check them out. He's one of 6 in the state, 6 retired SEALs. He's running like this. You know what? They gotta get stuff done. They gotta get stuff done. Something big nowadays. Check his eye out. Get some help. I might change my mind now, I don't know, but I'm just saying.
Right, yeah.
How is the guy gonna go to the
Now we have value. We have value.
Folks, just so you know, the selectors meeting is still going on, so they're probably going to be meeting soon. I would imagine.
See you later.
Yeah, what's that?
Tom Gavel. Click the light.
Bigger problem.
What's on the agenda next? What's next?
Yeah, on the market. We put it off. Well, this is urban development zone. This is the property. That's a single parcel.
No, I'm just get excited again. I'm sure we'll be in touch. Yes.
There you go, come to order.
You go to that little
Folks,
Yes, we're gonna be coming to order now.
Okay. You're late. Very nice, yes. You're out of order.
Again? Still?
Now you're in order.
Thank you. Business item number 2, road committee appointments. Applications were received from Scott Andresen, Michael Hennessy, and Jeremy Moore. The select board chooses to appoint committee members. A committee charge should be developed to guide the committee's work.
What's your pleasure, ladies? Are
Well,
you ready?
I think that we should accept their offer of help and let them know that the committee will be called to serve as soon as we can develop a plan for the committee, set their parameters of what they are authorized to do. I think this is one of those enthusiastic cases where we put the cart before the horse. So, but I appreciate the volunteering. Could you, on the 9th of December, bring us kind of a sample of what a road committee would look like?
Sure.
And then we could officially appoint people to such a committee? Would that work?
So we're not gonna appoint them to the committee tonight?
I don't think we should, because we don't really have any, we don't even have any recommendations of what we want them to do. I think we need to really get that in order. Personally, I'd like to see a lot of that. I think, Christine, you said that there was some database or something where we could start putting data into the
DOT program?
Yeah, I think that's really, really important and very, very valuable. I'm just wondering if that's something that they could somehow assist with, because until we can get ourselves on a cycle of maintaining these roads, it's really, really hard. I feel like sometimes we do the same roads over and over and over. Skip the little one. But we need some kind of plan for, you know, have all the culverts been cleaned out each year. We don't have any idea what culverts have been cleaned out, which ones haven't.
How many were you gonna have on the committee?
We have 3 volunteers right now.
I think there's a limit.
We haven't set up the parameters for the committee, so we don't know.
Because I probably have a volunteer for you.
It's probably somewhere between 3 and 5 would be my perfect idea of the committee. But that was only my personal opinion.
Yeah, Perry had expressed interest in doing that too. Not me. I'm busy enough, thank you.
So, yeah, again, I think it's hard to appoint when we don't even know what we're asking them to do at this point in time. So we did put the card a little bit before. But that's not a bad thing.
Because you've got people that are interested.
Well, we did not know that we had people who were interested before we hitched up the horse backwards, but now we know that we do have people who are interested in serving.
And I have got some feedback of people who aren't interested in serving the village. It's a great idea, so.
So can we have that ready for the next meeting?
All right, investment committee recommendation. The investment committee recommends transfer of investment funds from Portland Trust to Androscoggin Bank. And then you've got a follow-up in your packet. They want to transfer the full balance to Androscoggin Bank in the following account: 9-month CD, 0.30%, 245,000, 13-month CD at 0.40%, 245,000, ICS account 188.34. Now this is my understanding, especially with my accounts lately too, that we're just losing money currently.
That's correct.
Okay.
The fees that we're paying exceed the amount of interest that we're getting on our investments.
That's a negative return.
It is bad.
Well, plus with inflation, it's
Yeah.
even worse, right? Yeah,
Currently,
exactly.
but when it rebounds, we'll make more money.
So the purpose of splitting up the funds would to ensure that they're FDIC insured,
Right.
just to make that clear.
So are you prepared to make a motion, or would you like to have Paul and come to a meeting to discuss?
I'm comfortable moving forward with it. I think that the purpose is clear.
I would move that we follow the recommendation of the investment committee to reassign the investment funds and authorize the tax collector treasurer to make those changes.
Seconded, all in favor? Item agenda 4, town administrators report.
Okay, I included in your packet the MDOT work plan for 2022. It has a lot of work that they're planning on doing in West Bath, so I just wanted to make sure you were aware of it. The maps are really helpful to see where the work is being planned. Just wanted to point that out. They will be doing work on Berry's Mill, which I think is
Long overdue.
yeah, very good.
Do we know what they're doing?
It's paving projects,
All paving?
yeah.
They're not taking another look at the bridge or the culverts?
No, I don't believe so. I don't think that's on their list.
And for interested residents, the paving itinerary is on the website under our road postings.
The Saginaw County Hazard Mitigation Plan update for 2021 is complete. They are looking for public comment through December 10th. If you're interested, it's at SaginawCountyME.gov, and you can find the entire plan there.
So they can Saginaw County.
SaginawCountyME.gov.
Okay. Now I get it.
December 10th.
I told you I was in my hearing.
Okay, I've been talking with John Knoll. He is the director of the Submerged Lands Program, about the abandoned watercraft, Berry's Mill. He's doing his follow-up work that he needs to do to ensure that he can grant us permission to remove the watercraft. It will be our responsibility to remove the watercraft. And I can find a way to do that once we get permission. My understanding is that the state will help us recover our loss from any money that we have to expend to remove those abandoned boats. So, still in process, but gaining. And we've already talked about Chris McHale being here from Casella Waste on December 9th. He does want to resolve the noise complaints ahead of time. He was dismayed that they're persisting and he doesn't understand why it's happening. So he would like anybody who is hearing these noises to contact him directly rather than contacting the town office. So we can get his contact information if you're interested in contacting him directly. It's also important ahead of the December 9th meeting that if you hear anything, please document it. And if you're willing to go out and do some reconnaissance, take some pictures, that would be very helpful as well.
I'll do it with you. I will sit in separate cars, we won't have a forum, but we'll go with the
trouble
camera.
when I hear it is I get a little spooked driving up that road.
Yeah,
Well, I can understand that.
I'll do it with you. We will be in separate cars, we won't have a forum.
Should we send notice to residents in that general area to set
We
citizen comments,
could.
or do you just want to keep it at the board level for
Yeah.
now?
I think it'd be helpful. if we-
I would have that residents be,
Yeah,
give
or
us their
if you know
feedback,
anybody who's complaining,
that would be
yeah,
beneficial.
if they could send off a quick email to them, you would really appreciate it.
Yeah, date and time and noise.
Yeah.
You know, we could probably pay Tyler and one of his friends to do that over Thanksgiving break from college.
See, that's fine too.
You can't come home until you have evidence.
So his email address is Christopher.McHale, MCHALE, @casella.com.
Can you spell his last name again?
MCHALE.
I've got 2 college kids looking to earn a small stipend for an all-nighter.
You can't pay them in Dairy Queen because it's closed.
Closed.
So you have to,
Food is the way to their heart, though.
absolutely. The towns of West Bath, Pittsburgh, and Harpswell were awarded a grant in the amount of $28,000 from the Governor's Office of Policy, Innovation, and the Future. Baker Design Consultants out of Freeport will be in West Bath to develop conceptual designs and budget estimates for improvements to Sabino Landing. So that should really inform us as to how we want to move forward with any work that would be or could be done down there. Focus is on climate resilience, but I think that the information that we'll get from that project will well exceed that specific purpose. And that's all I have tonight.
Any other future agenda items?
December 9th will be Casella and the road committee charge. Is there anything else that you would like on that agenda?
I was saying, I can't remember it, but I will send it to you.
Okay.
Something crossed my mind.
Before we go to public comment, I did not realize that the camera was on, so I would like to issue a public apology to Mary Lee Wilson. I thought I was in a joking mood, and I didn't realize we were officially on camera, and I apologize.
Apology not necessary, and I accepted the joke with good humor. Carry on.
I do carry on, I'm sorry.
Do we have a more finite boundary for the COVID relief that we're getting for the town, that we know what we can do with it? Have they really resolved?
Yeah, if you want to talk more about that at the next meeting, we
Yeah.
can start talking about that. I could bring more information
I
with
think
me
that
so
would be
that I'm better prepared.
Beneficial.
But yeah, there's actually a lot more uses than we initially thought.
Good. So it would be good for us to know that.
I think it will mostly be around communications for us. But we'll talk about that at the next meeting too.
Good, that will be helpful.
Okay.
Public comment? It's up for you.
Is there anyone else who wants to say anything?
Off the record. Seems that we had a few meetings here lately, and probably the years to come have more meetings here. Possibly get an insulated rolling window door
Oh, that's a good idea.
for both these slots.
Brilliant. That's why we keep you.
Or foam panels,
Budget
if
committee
nothing
will
else.
allow, it's a very
Some sort of-
spendy procedure, I've been told.
It's matching
Anything.
grants with the town office.
Very necessary. Also, if we're gonna have meetings here, we should urge the budget committee to approve the budget item for an electronic sign to allow
Yes.
for the numerous meetings that
That
are
could
being
be paid
held.
for with the ARPA money.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Well,
So
my
we'll
thought,
talk about that at
my
the
thought
next
was
meeting.
with this
Yes.
is ventilation.
Yes.
So COVID money might
Yes.
possibly pay for that.
Yes.
Well, if we're gonna do that, then can you wear the sandwich board outside? If we're gonna spend it
I don't like,
Just
I don't do sandwiches.
He could appear as a banana.
I just had a question. I was hoping to get an update on the status of the consent agreement that was being done